You're just like, well, not you. I'm just like, no. This Hey guys, back with my third video of the day. Thought I'd marathon these all out because I am terrible at uploading and shooting videos because it's been so busy, especially with this one because honestly, the comic book review videos are my most intimidating ones. I feel like I have a hard time getting my messages across, so we're gonna try this one again. So, I got a comic book review video. Let's just dump right into it. First up, we have Barrier. This is volume 1 or issue 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is a complete series. It was a limited series by Brian K. Vaughan, Marcos Martin, and Muntsa Vicente. The names are right there. Yeah. This is basically a Close Encounter story, but of course it wouldn't be Brian K. Vaughan if there wasn't some social commentary. So what we have are two protagonists. We have Liddy, who is a Texas rancher with property on the Texas-Mexican border, and then we have Oscar, who I believe is a Honduran man who is trying to migrate into the US. They cross paths, and while they're having their initial kind of interaction, a spaceship appears overhead and beams them both up, and that's kind of where the story really picks up. What I can say about it is that Oscar only speaks Spanish, Liddy only speaks English, and that's how it's written in these books. Also, that the story is really told through the images and through the commonality that we all share as humans of Earth. Because that's the only language that they know they share. They're both human, so they understand fear, they understand hunger, they understand pain, and they understand the innate need of human survival. So basically, that's how they communicate with each other to kind of traverse the situation that they're in. I'm not going to give away the end, but it's pretty interesting, especially the ending. I think they did a really good job with that. The artwork, Muntsa Vicente did an excellent job. This is some of it from issue number 1. And it was imperative that he was able to convey the sentiments of the story because, like I said, it's a bilingual series. So if you don't speak one of the languages, you may not get the full width and breadth of the details of the story. But also in issue number 3, there is no dialogue at all. The whole story is told by the images. I had fun reading this. I thought it was a really nice read. Is it my favorite Brian K. Vaughan offering? No. But I did enjoy the story. I understood the sentiments and I agree with them. And I did like the ending because it was kind of twofold. It kind of begged the question about how others would view us, because we here kind of divide each other up by our nationalities, our ethnicities, our races, the languages we speak, but a person or being coming from another world would only see us as earthlings and maybe only think of us as different from cows, but not necessarily different from each other. It was just an interesting tale. I really liked it. I really did like it. And if you are into that kind of commentary or that kind of story, I think you should pick it up. What I would suggest though is not to wait around for a trade paperback or any kind of bound edition, because he made it perfectly clear in here that will not be coming anytime soon. This was kind of a love letter to comic book shops or places where you can have a pull list. So you have to get the individual issues to read the story. Next up, I can't even. Oh my God, I can't even say this with a straight face. What is this? Dark Knight's Metal. This is by DC. Written by Scott Snyder, art done by Greg Capullo. In a word, this was just bad. I don't understand where this was going. It started with like this very ominous tale of the three tribes of man, like from the beginning of time or the beginning of Earth or humanity or whatever. Then we jump to the Justice League on some unidentified planet where they are fighting to the death inside of a kind of gladiator style tournament or something. And in order to win, I'm sorry if I'm spoiling this, but what is this? Is this like that Power Ranger thing? What do they call that thing? A mech or Zord? Is that what this is? Like a Justice League Zord? Honestly, when I got to this part, I nearly chucked this thing into the trash. I was just like, what is that? Are they serious right now? And then, of course, that's where they leave it. And then it's over. They heading back to home. All's good. We don't know what happened. We don't even know why that happened. It was just a thing. And then, of course, there's a big old mountain in the middle of Gotham when they get back. And that's where the story kind of takes off. And you're just like, well, not you. I'm just like, no. This was the first issue. I know this series is completed. I do not plan on continuing this. It's just not what I'm about. You know I love Batman. You know I love Superman. And I do have a soft spot in my heart for Wonder Woman. But I am not about to do this with y'all. No. No. Next up, Doomsday Clock number 4. And I have the cover with Rorschach on the front, and I am so glad I got this cover instead of the other alternative, because this is all about him. Rorschach 2, who I believe his name is Reggie or Reginald Long. Sorry. And this was amazing. Oh, it was written by Jeff Johns, and of course the art is by the awesome Gary Frank. And I'm saying that because this issue, you gotta see it, is just gorgeous. These are some gorgeous panels here. My favorite, I'm not gonna show you that because that's definitely a spoiler, but here's some nice ones too. Now this story is kind of telling us who Reggie Long is, this issue I mean, and it jumps around a bit. It goes to the distant past, to the more recent past, and to the present, and it bounces around, but it's well done, so you never lose your place. It's not like a Westworld episode. You never lose your place. You know exactly what's going on and what period, or at least I did. So it was easy to follow. It was very well done. I thought the dialogue and the imagery was so empathetic. I think that's a good word. It definitely gets you on Reggie's side. My favorite panels are these. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably already saw these because I put them up. And this fire, the warmness, how it illuminates the face, what it means within the narrative, it was just so well done. Gary Frank is the man. I would like him to draw for everybody, but I know that is not possible. But this was just really done well, and I am very excited, not only for issue number 5, which I already have, but I'm more excited for issue number 6, because that's where they kind of dig into the mime and the marionette characters. They're kind of new characters, so we get to find out more about them. Awesome. Next, Fear Agent. This is a trade paperback. I believe it's issues 1 through 10, volume 1. This is by Rick Remender, art done by Tony Moore and Jerome Opeña. Basically, this is the Evil Dead in space. This guy, name is Heath Hudson, and what he reminds me of is Ash from the Evil Dead. He sounds like him, he looks like him, he behaves like him. It's just like, really? And if you like the Evil Dead, you will like this, because it does have that kind of tongue-in-cheek, a little offensive, hyper-masculine humor to it. I wasn't offended by it. At some points it got a little slow, but overall I thought the pacing was pretty good. It's basically about this guy. He's a fear hunter. A fear hunter at one point was a soldier, kind of a galactic soldier, and his particular platoon defended Earth during an invasion. It did not go well. So now he's kind of like this intergalactic alien exterminator. So he goes to other planets, and if you're having like an alien or problems with other beings on your planet, he will help rectify that, usually by killing them all. So that's how we meet him. And then he gets a call from an old buddy in the Corps or whatever, and he asked him to go check out an outpost that hasn't responded in like forever. And when he gets there, everybody's dead, and there's all of these horrible monsters there. And he finds this doctor hiding in a water tank. It's just ridiculous. But let's just say the action picks up from there. And it's honestly, the story was kind of interesting. Toward the end, I got a little confused as to exactly where they were trying to go with the narrative, because they really kind of flip it on its head. But overall, I do think that if I found this at the used bookstore. So if I found the second volume, I would pick it up, because it was interesting enough for me to continue to read it. The artwork is pretty good. It is exactly what you would expect. It's a little goofy. Let's see. Here's some fighting scenes here. It's not as beautiful or as clean as Gary Frank, but I definitely did enjoy the artwork. I think it fits, as I would usually say, the mood of the story. And there was one page that was really pretty. Yeah, this one. This was a really nice page. I remember thinking that when I was reading through, how gorgeous this looks. So yeah, I think it has a lot of great potential. Look at his face. Tell me that does not look like the guy who plays Ash. Come on. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was humorous and fun. It was definitely, what did I read this? I think I read this after I read Dark Metal, so it was a nice palate cleanser. But yeah, I would suggest that if you like a little bit of humor in your sci-fi, this was a nice pickup. But it does get a little twisted toward the end. And lastly, we have Octavia Butler's Kindred. This is a graphic novel that was adapted by Damian Duffy and John Jennings. And this, I believe, is the very first graphic novel adapted from any of Octavia Butler's work. So kudos to that. I have read this book, the novel, about maybe 2 or 3 times over my life. This book originally was published in the 1970s. Not this graphic novel. I think this came out last year. But the original novel came out in the 1970s, which is this present day for the details in here. It's about a woman named Dana, and she has just purchased a new home with her husband in 1970 California. Her husband is a white man. Dana is a black woman. And while they're unpacking and settling in, Dana kind of blips out of existence and travels back into time to plantation slave era America. Not in California, somewhere on the East Coast. And she meets a little boy who's drowning. She saves his life. And she doesn't really know what's happening, because all she knows is that she jumped to another place, but she doesn't realize instantly that she's in another time period until other people start showing up. Like the kid's mom and dad. The dad is a slave owner, and they are very upset that this black person just showed up out of nowhere and is touching their child. Dana becomes very frightened in that situation, and she is immediately pulled back into her present. Her husband only noticed that she had jumped from one side of the room to the other, but he didn't know until she told him that she had traveled back in time, and she was gone a lot longer than the brief period of her jumping from one side to the other. So in 1970, it looks like she was only gone for like a second. But she, I don't know what period this was, maybe 1500s. She was gone for maybe a half an hour. They don't know why this occurred. She hopes that it never happens again, but of course it does. And each time this occurs, she is gone for longer periods of time, and the danger for her increases. What can I say about this story? It is very, introspective isn't the right word. It's a very deep and meaningful tale. It talks a lot about basically the definition of humanity and how people kind of define each other within relationships, and what and does a relationship actually encompasses some type of ownership that plays into what she finds out about the little boy, and honestly what her relationship is with her husband. Now don't get it twisted, it ain't like that. She isn't married to some guy who thinks he's a slave master. It's just kind of, it pulls into question, how we identify relationships and what we believe that relationship means and how it connects us to one another. That's what I'll say. But that's not entirely what this novel's about. It's a sci-fi novel, so it don't get that deep. Do I enjoy the story? Yes, I do. I do like Octavia Butler's versions of sci-fi. I think they are well done and scary in a very kind of real, intangible way. Let's look at the artwork. The artwork, I think, kind of captures the storytelling. It's kind of gritty and a little severe. Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. I think Damian Duffy was the writer and John Jennings was the artist. So I would say Damian Duffy did really capture her voice. It sounds like her. The artwork feels like her. So I do think that if you like Octavia Butler's work, if you've read Kindred and you enjoyed the story, I think the graphic novel will be a nice companion addition for you to have. That's what I mean. That's it, guys. Another comic book review. What did you think? Were any of these stories interesting to you? If so, leave a comment down below and tell me what you think. If you would like more comic book review videos of this type, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Your support is always appreciated. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.